Right. Good morning. If we want to pop around with those who are here for now, we can do introductions. And like I said, I think folks will kind of filter in, but maybe we'll have a quick meeting. So I'm Stephanie Cavino, the director of the collaborative, and my favorite park or open space in the watershed. It's a really great question, Kaylee. And I don't totally know. I feel like the one I visit the most is Douglas State Forest because it's 5 minutes from my house. And so I go there a lot. And it's kind of nice that it has a diversity of like you can go swimming, it has a rail trail for biking or horseback riding, it has like kind of trails in the woods. So it's got a little bit of everything. How about you, Kaylee?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kaylee McLaren. I'm the restoration manager at the collaborative. I posed this question, but I don't know if I have a good answer. I would probably say Coes Pond in Worcester, like Step because it's very close to my house and I run there a lot. But I also love Green Hill Park in Worcester as well. Yeah.
Thanks. How about Amanda?
Good morning. I'm Amanda Cossier from Upper Blackstone Clean Water. Um, I was also going to say Douglas State Forest. I go there a lot with my dogs. It's really nice. Um, and yeah, the Southern New England Trunk Line Trail connects from there. So we've walked that a couple times and it's just a nice area.
Nice, thanks. Peter?
Peter Coffin. Besides the backyards of the woods here in Mendon, I would have to say if I'm with somebody, the towpath at Riverbend Farm. If I'm on my own, just want to get with the river, it would be the Blackstone Gorge down in Blackstone.
Nice. Thanks. Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Perry with the Blackstone River Coalition. I'm the Water Quality Monitoring Coordinator. And I think my favorite spot is probably Broadmeadow Brook Audubon Sanctuary. Um, they are wonderful partners and give us desk space there. And I think it's really cool that you can take a city bus and it's just very really accessible and there's beautiful areas there that everybody can easily access. So
Absolutely. And the largest urban wildlife sanctuary in New England. Big one. Adam.
Hi, Adam Menard, town planner for Auburn. I don't particularly have a favorite. Sometimes I go down to Grafton and fish the river, Fisherville Pond, or behind the high school down there. Sometimes they stock that with trout, so I try my luck with that.
Nice, thanks. Danielle, and then we'll go Kelly, Judy, Nick, David, just so you have a heads up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle Moore. I'm the Watershed Outreach Manager with the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program. Sorry, for some reason my camera is not working, but you can kind of see my little picture. My favorite open space, I guess I have two of them. So one of them, I'm also going to have to say Douglas State Forest. I grew up in Douglas, so it was like somewhere we always went to growing up. And I also really like Dean Park in Shrewsbury. So I think those two are my favorites.
Nice, thanks. Kelly?
Hi everyone, Kelly King, environmental planner with the Horsley Witten Group. I would say my favorite linear resource in the watershed is the Blackstone River Greenway. Love going onto it from Cumberland area. A great Rhode Island resource. Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. Judy?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Judy Rondo. I'm in the non-point source management section in the watershed planning program at Mass DEP. And I think like many others, my favorite area is Douglas State Forest. I like to hike the trails there with my dogs.
It's so funny. We just we're working with the town of Douglas on a grant application, and out of curiosity, we looked up Douglas State Forest as like a resource to mention, and they have over 60,000 visitors a year. And in 2020, during COVID, they had 130,000 visitors that year. So we are definitely not the only ones who enjoy Douglas State Forest. That's pretty cool. Nick.
Morning, everyone. This is Nick Cohen. I'm an environmental planner with the Horsley Witten Group, and I would also second Riverbend Farm. The history and the woods and the water features, I think, are cool. And last time we were there, it was exciting to hear how I think everybody in the room, or many people in the room, said that they'd had a childhood experience there or a recent visit there for history, which was inspiring to hear about. And I'm going to just switch back to my computer, so I'm going to leave for a minute because I'm having audio issues, but I'll be right back.
No problem. Thanks, Nick. And Patty, I think last but not least.
Hi, Patty, retired poet. And my favorite spot in the watershed has I have a lot of many favorite spots, but the one spot that I found a lot of inspiration is at the marsh on the boardwalk on the Greenway in Valley Falls. I've encountered a run-in between a snapping turtle and a green heron, which I videotaped trying to figure out who was going to win the battle, but there was no battle. The green heron was able to fly away. But yeah, that's my favorite spot. I've seen many a deer over in that section as well. But I'm getting some new favorite spots over here in the western part of the watershed in Burrowville too. And there's a little spot, and there's a little path, and there's a pickleball court, which I haven't played yet, but it goes down towards where the Clear River and Branch River, or I'm not sure which river, but it's one of those, and it's just very peaceful and quiet, and it's just a lovely spot just to watch the river run.
Nice. Thanks, Patty. Okay, so I get to be your speaker today, probably why we have such a small group. No one wants to hear from me because I already talk a lot. But I wanted to give an update to what's going on with fish passage in the Blackstone. So let me stop sharing for a second. I'm going to switch slideshows and then I will reshare. You would think I would be like super smooth with this by now, but no. All right. So what's going on with fish passage on the Blackstone? So I always start with the same thing as a reminder, no matter where we are in the watershed, we're on Indigenous land, whether it's Massachusetts, Narragansett, Nipmuc, or Pokanoket, and we try and bring that cultural importance back into our work as well. So the first part, you guys kind of know this, we call it the Narragansett call it Mishkittikuk-Sepe, the Nipmuc call it Kittikuk. They both mean Great Tidal River, and it hasn't been tidal in over 200 years, and that's something that we're trying to fix. You guys are pros at the Blackstone, but just to mention that, we have over 300 dams in the watershed, and they prohibit a lot of movement of both water and different species. So in particular, we're thinking about this lowest section and opening that back up to the tidal area to restore migratory fish. So we're an impact network. We are just 2. We're hoping to bring on a 3rd this fall. We'll hopefully learn more this summer and be able to share that with you. But we try and do a lot of different things, whether it's working on wild and scenic or sediment or dam removal or education or CSO or access. But one of our projects, of course, is one of our projects is bring back migratory species. So let's see if I can go backwards there. So we know that we're not going to get full continuity on the Blackstone River probably in a really long time. Certainly not within my lifetime, because we still have 19 dams on the river, and it's a lot to a lot to think about. But we are working to prioritize what some of those could potentially be removed or partially removed to allow fish through. And that's part of our work under our NIFWIF grant that we got, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, that will be looking at hydrology on the river with Horsley Witten. We're going to be working on looking at all of the dams and creating a better inventory of what all the watershed dams are with Emily Vogler, who's in this picture here. And we'll be doing a lot of work on access and thinking about specific parcels to potentially restore or purchase, and how we can modify existing resources of access or create new access points. So we haven't had these healthy populations of whether herring, shad, or American eel. All are migratory species. Shad and herring are considered anadromous because they spawn in freshwater and then they go out back to the ocean to live their adult life. And eels are considered catadromous, which means that they spawn in the ocean and then come back and live in the rivers for their adult life. We know that they come back to the bottom of the dams every year. DEM, Rhode Island DEM, has done electroshock fishing at the bottom of Main Street Dam, for instance, and we still have these species coming back and trying to get up the river. So we know if we allow some way for them to get around these dams, they will still use that river as a resource. They will spawn and then go back and create healthy populations. So our goal, I know there are 19 on the river, but our goal is to get over these lowest 4 dams, and that's been identified as a priority for a long time. So why do we want to do this? It's the longest tributary to the Narragansett Bay, freshwater tributary to the Narragansett Bay. It's access to one of the largest freshwater wetlands in Rhode Island, Valley Falls Marsh or Lonsdale Marsh, and that marsh has been through a lot of restoration efforts. You can actually see, I should change this picture. There's a lot of water chestnut in this picture. It's not there right now. So there's been a lot of efforts to clean up those invasives and remove them. Restoring these species also provides a forage base for other fish, meaning other fish can eat these species. And so it supports larger, both commercial and recreational fishing opportunities. It's a connectivity not only for these migratory fish, but also for local species to be able to just get to different parts of the river and not separate these populations. And also, not only is it important for the ecology of the river, but it's also really important for the cultural connection and sense of place, whether that's for Indigenous members or just people in the community. Oops. Switching back and forth between moving Zoom and clicking on this is way harder than I thought. So as I mentioned, this has been prioritized and identified as a priority for a really long time, whether it's this 1997 report from the Army Corps of Engineers saying, how do we restore the Blackstone River? Let's start with the lowest 4 dams. The Narragansett Bay Estuary Program had this in a 2002 fisheries restoration plan. In 2010, we got so far as to design this Daniil fishway. So one fishway over the Main Street Dam and one fishway over the Slater Dam. It actually went out to bid, but they had, I forget the amount of funding here now, but they had, I think, like $4 million or something, and the project came back. All the bids were over like 7 million. So they weren't able to construct it, which maybe isn't such a bad thing, because when they created these matrix of alternatives in 2019, they actually revised, instead of doing 2 Daniil fishways, to do 1 vertical slot fishway in river. So it's better to do 1 passage project, because then fish aren't having to go through like multiple sort of constructed areas, and they can just go in one. That would go to the bottom of Main Street, go inland, and just go all the way over back above Slater Mill. In 2021, of course, our founding document, the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program's Needs Assessment Report, it was again identified as a priority. And then between 2023 and 2025, we've been working with the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management and other partners to apply for NOAA funding opportunities to build this inland vertical slot fishway, which has been the priority alternative since 2019. So this is what it looks like. I know this is a little bit fuzzy, but basically fish would go in below Main Street Dam. They would go in this about 8-foot wide channel that has baffles in it. So fish can kind of like jump up one, rest, jump up another one, rest, and make their way all the way up. It'll have like a grate on top. You won't really see it so much if you're far away, but it'll be mostly level with the natural grade. And then it'll go all the way up here to above Slater Dam and let those fish out. And then this could work the opposite way for eel species who are going downriver. This is a really expensive project because we're working in a highly urbanized and, limited space area. So it's about $19.5 million, which is a challenging price tag, as you might imagine. So the overview of what we're trying to get from this, you guys probably know this, but Main Street Dam, people always ask like, well, why are we starting here? Why didn't we ever have this before? Main Street Dam is a hydroelectric dam that's active, and in the 1980s, they basically convinced the government that, well, see, it's not just this dam here, there's this natural granite falls, and so fish wouldn't be able to get up that. We shouldn't have to provide fish passage, because even if we remove the dam, fish wouldn't be able to get up in most high level water scenarios. But what people didn't realize is that historically there was a braided channel that went around this part of the river, and fish were able to go up that channel and they would get into the river. We have very well documented stories and accounts of having lots of shad and herring and eel on the river. And in fact, there are some reports of being able to walk on the backs of herring, and the river ran silver because there were so many of these fish back in the 1800s. So we want to be able to construct. We're working on final design, permitting, construction is what we asked the funding for from NOAA, to go around both of these dams. And then once we got around both of those, Slater Mill's not going anywhere. It's the American Industrial Revolution. It's the first successful water-powered cotton spinning mill. It's a national park. It's not going to go anywhere. So we need to be able to go around both of those. Next is Elizabeth Webbing Dam. It's actually owned by DEM. They purchased it in 2010, specifically in order to provide fish passage around it. So they have plans and are working right now through funding with the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program to create a suite of alternatives again and decide which one to go forward. But they're looking at a nature-like fishway that would go through part of this dam. So it would be probably partial removal, but they're also looking at full removal and other options. Next is Valley Falls Dam. That's another hydroelectric dam. Once fish get here under their existing FERC permit, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, they would be required to provide fish passage and allow them to pass. Normally, Main Street would have required that too, but again, they got this exemption. And then next up is Pratt Dam. So it's already breached and passable. So really, if we are able to get funding for this part here, we're leveraging all of these other benefits. So direct benefit wise, we're going over 2 dams. We're going only 0.82 river miles. So if you think about like the NOAA applications of, if you give us money, we're going to remove this dam, or we're going to go around it and we're going to get dozens of miles. We are not getting that in the Blackstone. It's a very different watershed, so it's a hard sell. But we're starting from nothing. We have no river herring. We have no shad, right? But if we can get this, we allow them access to this 13 acres of spawning habitat in Valley Falls and Lonsdale Marsh, and we bring back an annual population of 600 shad and 12,000 herring. Nothing to sneeze at. But we're also leveraging much, much more. So we're getting about 5 river miles if we go around all 5 of those dams, which is what would happen next. We're opening up 206 acres of spawning habitat, and we're getting an annual population of nearly 10,000 shad and 200 river herring just by getting this funding, going over those 2 dams, and kind of like knocking up the dominoes. So what is our role in this? As you guys know, we're a convener. We bring people together. We're trying to help justify this big price tag that people have been working on for decades. And what we heard is that the public really wanted transparent decisions. People said, why are you spending this money? What is happening here in a vacuum? I'm not involved. I don't know what's going on. And then decision makers were challenged because they said, well, in order to do a project like this, we need to show public support. We need to, have backing for it and show that people actually want this to happen. We're not making a decision in a vacuum. So we worked together and we decided, let's create this community advisory council. So we bring together all different partners, state agencies, some federal agencies, dam owners, tribes, municipalities, and nonprofits. And we meet monthly. We have these invitation only meetings because we want to keep it small and advisory, but we publish all of our notes and our recordings. We provide support on things like grant applications, organizing letters of support, thinking about timing of priorities. We met this month, just yesterday, and we went over, how do we create public access at this as we invest in this river and go over all these big investments. We also always want to highlight Indigenous voices and priorities, and we do a lot of event hosting, of course, like the fish parade, which is why I'm wearing this fish hat today. The fish parade is a Sunday, and run things like charrette sessions. We also work with our partners to identify these internship opportunities. So this is from Bryce Dubois from the University of New Haven. His student Marie has created this benefit on a fish passage. This is sort of the first step overview. We know most of these things so far, but the next step is she's diving into some of these case studies to look at how people have identified quantifying and qualifying some of these benefits. As you guys know, Fish Parade is this Sunday, 10:30 at Central Falls Landing. We still have some kayaks available. And of course, what we are titling all of these different grant applications is Restoring Fish Passage on the Great Tidal River, Bringing Our Relatives Home, because these fish are considered relatives to the Indigenous people. So too often they're left out of the conversation, but we really want to make sure that they do have leadership roles and can help make this project a reality. And in fact, we have 3 pending NOAA applications, 2 of which were submitted by Rhode Island DEM, and 1 of which was submitted by the Narragansett Indian Tribe. We're waiting on all of these so far. So we're waiting to hear back if we get that funding or not. Hopefully we will, and we'll jump right into that finalizing design and construction. So it was a little long, sorry, but I hope it provides an overview of what's happening right now with Fish Passage. Does anyone have any questions? Peter.
I think you mentioned this, but has a study been done to see where fish are already? Like, are they we're finding them at the base of the Main Street Dam? Okay.
Yes, yeah, they are. DEM has done studies to say, are these fish still here? And the answer has been yes, they're still at the bottom of these dams. So they're not 100% loyal to one river. And so if they go to another river, maybe they make their way up, they go to the Blackstone, they say, oh, I can't go up there, and then they end up in the 10 mile or something else. So yeah, these species still exist right around here though. Peter?
Yes, Steph, my understanding of the long history, I'm not sure of the original FERC license. They were like for 30 years. My understanding that all of them didn't have to do diddly for fisheries because the water quality was so bad that there weren't any fisheries to impact. Therefore, there are no fish ladders required. About, I don't know, when I first, 80s, 90s, the first one was, I don't know who owned it. Was it privately? I got the feeling that yes, water quality had improved, but that the little electric power that it produced was better than nothing, and that FERC wasn't going to make them do it until it made sense, i.e., where would these fish go? You got to get them up the Valley Falls. Therefore, it's not just one, you need 4. However, if Rhode Island had a plan, then all of the upstream dams would have to provide fish passage. All right. Second point, when I got here, the big argument was whether it was salmon that were there. And URI got into an argument whether salmon. So that was a distraction. Everyone has known that there was historically shale wives and AL wives and shad, Sergeant's Trench, 1700s. So that I don't think was the issue so much. I will leave it finally as eels. Eels are there. They've been documented with the relicensing all the way up at Blackstone Gorge. They had to do studies to show where they should provide eel ladders, and they would do it as soon as the downstream dam did it. Well, there's the downstream dam is what? Thunder Mist. And they would do it if Rhode Island had a plan. So I'm a little frustrated, and the eels are there. So we should be able to build on that. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we do have eels, but they're small and you don't really see them because when they're babies, they're like really tiny little, like clear. But we don't have a healthy population of them, and that's the difference. So Rhode Island is writing an anadromous fish plan right now, and the new Rhode Island DEM's new fish passage person who's working on the Blackstone and also other restoration projects in Rhode Island is writing that plan. Matt G, I'm blanking on his last name. Anyway, Gendron, I think is his last name. So the previous anadromous fish plan didn't include the Blackstone. You're right, but this plan will include the Blackstone, but they still don't have to provide passage. So the first one at Main Street had some agreement that said, okay, well, you have to invest something in supporting passage. So they gave like $150,000 or something really minimal to support something that happened like 15 years ago. So there's actual legal battle right now of deciding like, does that actually count? Because nothing actually happened. No one constructed anything. So did they fulfill their requirement or not? Is there some additional work that they have to do? And that's in the lawyer's hands right now. But we're working under the assumption that they did what they were supposed to do at the time. We didn't construct it, but they fulfilled their obligations. So we need this other funding to be able to construct it and move forward, not necessarily with their help.
Okay, and last one, remind me, the Albion Dam that there's now this Archimedean screw in place. I believe they had to construct eel passage.
They did.
But it was all, so has that been constructed or they had figured out where is best? So there's much opportunities there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot more that needs to happen. And it's hard because it is always a domino of you only have to do it if someone below you does it. And below you is Main Street, and they don't have to. So we have to knock down Main Street to be able to get up the river.
I would suggest that for eels, you wouldn't have to, and that they're there. And so anybody can't use the excuse of waiting on it, but take that offline.
Yeah, yeah. I probably need to learn a lot more about eels. Like Albion did have to provide eel passage. I don't know what that looks like, and it's a good question. John Marsland would probably know better. So running through our agenda, I'm sorry that took a lot of time, but if you have more questions, let me know and I'm happy to chat. So we were selected as a finalist for this Mass Nonprofit Network Award
Steph,
for
we're seeing your
oh, it's because I pressed
yeah.
stop share and didn't press reshare. Sorry, thank you. Good.
Perfect.
Thanks. We were selected as a finalist for this Mass Nonprofit Networks Award for small nonprofit, and they haven't announced the winners until their actual award ceremony in June, but we're really excited to be one of 5 finalists in that category. They got over 150 applications overall in different categories, so it's pretty neat. And all the other nonprofits that are in our small nonprofit category are pretty cool. I was looking them up, so we're really excited to share that. For academic partnerships and research opportunities, Kayla, I'll hand it to you.
Sure. So we're still working on the Morley Field GIS project. We're looking for funding for the graduate student that we've been working with, and we're going to do some site visits. So that's ongoing. We're working with Bryce Dubois from University of New Haven because he's really plugged into the Morley Field project and the Pawtucket, scene down there, and John Rogan from Clark University as well.
Thanks.
And then
And as I mentioned, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're also working with Bryce on this other project that one of his students is doing on the benefits of fish passage on the Blackstones. So we know a lot about the economic benefits. It's been quantified quite a bit from RIDEM and other partners, but we're really interested in the social and cultural benefits that fish passage would bring to the Blackstones. So she is working on that, and I think she'll have a poster at the Fish Parade event on Sunday. So we're looking forward to seeing that too.
Yeah, great, thank you. Any other Bikeway Greenway updates that folks want to share? We talked about fish passage benefit or fish passage updates for a long time. Sunday. We still have some kayaks available, or you can bring your own kayak. The seats on the Explorer are full, but we hope to see you on Sunday. Water quality.
Oh, Stephanie, before you move
Yeah.
on to water quality, I'm just curious, did you get any feedback from media, or did any media reach out to
Of
you?
course not.
I know I've seen it in a lot of the event calendars and the press release
Yeah,
showed
thank
up in
you.
a couple of places, but yeah, I'm disappointed that I guess there's too much going on out there, but
Yeah, I have low expectations for media attention these days, so that's
yeah.
okay. But I think it's going to be a great event. Like I said, we're sold out of Explorer seats. We're nearly sold out of kayak. We have a lot of folks coming, so we're
Well,
looking.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Kaylee, I was going to ask. I know we have these different CSO events that have occurred in the last month, and I saw that the last one from yesterday said untreated amount was unknown.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was gonna follow up with Ian and ask him about it.
Yeah, that would be a good question for Ian. Yeah, I'm not sure. I was just going to point out that we've had more rain this month than we've had in a while, which is a good thing because we're in a drought, but also a bad thing because then we get these CSO events, right? And there were 2 days where we had an event in the morning and a separate event later in the day. So I haven't really seen that before, but it happened twice this month. So I'm curious to talk to DPW to see if they're managing it differently or if it's just circumstantial. And then I'll also note that our CSO working group has moved from meetings every other month to every quarter. So we're going to slow down the frequency of those meetings just a little bit until there's something really concrete that the group can work on. So until the long-term control plan comes out or until DPW is working on some outreach materials now. So until those come out and we can review them or share them, we'll be kind of slowing down the frequency of those.
For access, just a note that as we kick off this National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant, we're working with our partners to figure out some public events, and we're trying to do some really fun stuff. We also haven't chosen a date for our fall paddle yet, but we are still planning on doing a big paddle this fall, so stay tuned for that. And if you're interested in joining us on certain sections, let us know. Same thing for dam removal, like that's going to be part of our NIFWIF work. I feel like there's a lot of like, we're building up to it, we're getting there, we'll let you know soon, but we're not quite there yet. Kaylee?
Yeah, so I just wanted to note that there's this cool initiative that the state is doing to identify sites for restoration projects statewide. And they're working with SWCA, which is a consulting group. And they did this big GIS analysis to try to find parcels that would be suitable for restoration, which is something that I actually did too. So I wanted to meet with SWCA to talk about the differences in what I got versus what they got. Obviously, I only did it for our watershed rather than the entire state. So I met with them and they were really great. And we talked a lot about how we can best work together. And also one of their pilot projects, I think they have 3 pilot projects, and one is working with the Greater Worcester Land Trust. So we're hoping to get more information on that project too and share it with you guys.
Thanks.
And a quick update on our culvert assessment project in Grafton and Upton. So this is my group of trainees. We only had 6, but it was a really great group this time around. So we completed our kickoff meetings and our field work in both Grafton and Upton. So now we're on to data input. We have everything in Survey 123, which is an ArcGIS product to collect data. So now we're moving everything to the NAC database, and the timeline on this grant is the end of June. Everything has to be wrapped up. So we're definitely approaching the end, but we still have kind of this analysis report to create. And then we're going to do some wrap-up meetings with the town as well. And we'll share the findings from the report and the field work and what we got with you all as well.
And a follow-up from that is, as part of Kaylee's work and working with culverts in Douglas and Grafton is, well, in Grafton for that grant and Douglas in general, we identified some specific culverts that the towns really wanted to replace. And so we helped Douglas with an application to replace their, for engineering and 60% design for both of these. In Douglas, it was Wallace Street and Webster Street culverts. So it was two that are on the same stream, and there was one in between that had recently been replaced already. So this would be reconnecting all of those areas. And it also is connected to a lot of rare habitat, rare species habitat, and national heritage area in Douglas State Forest that we were talking about earlier. And then in Grafton, it's Merriam Road culvert that's right near a conservation area. It's in an ACEC, has a bunch of vernal pools around there. So these are both really important ecological areas, and we're fingers crossed that they get those grants to help them get through the 60% design. Additionally, for us, just keeping you posted, we had previously applied in the early spring to this Environmental Justice for New England program, the Thriving Communities Grant from EPA, and we heard that the funding was terminated for this program. So we never heard back about whether we were funded or not, but we do expect this to be disputed in the courts. It was congressionally selected, appointed funding. So it shouldn't be terminated. So we're hoping that whether it's us or other programs do get the funds from this grant at some point. We also applied for this really little grant through the Trust for Public Lands. It's called On Common Ground. And it was to work together and create like a steering committee and outreach around the wild and scenic designation of the Blackstone. So we should find out about that soon, and fingers crossed. We have a few partner updates that folks asked us to share, and then I'll hand it over to you all. So the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program has a new position open for a staff ecologist. So if anyone is interested in working with this amazing group, check out their website and you can apply to that. And I don't know, Danielle, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think that just about covers it. And feel free to ask any of us if there's any questions about this position. And you'd be my coworker, so that would be fun too.
Yeah, and BP is great to work with. Thanks. We also recently heard, thank you to Kate McPherson from Save the Bay that shared this, the Peterson Puritan Superfund site in like Cumberland, Lincoln area in Rhode Island, right along the river, is creating a new community involvement plan, and they're looking to work with stakeholders to understand what people want out of it. I asked Olivia from EPA if she might want to present at our next collaborative meeting to give us kind of an overview, because I'd love to hear more about like what's the history of the site, what happened there, what is the plan moving forward, what are the contaminants of concern, and then we can talk more about how we can make sure that there's safe public access through this area, there's appropriate signage, there's appropriate management of sediment and dust. There's a lot of dust sometimes coming from this site, and I don't know if the specific pollutants can be inhaled or if it's just through the water, if it's just through the dirt. So I'd love to learn more about this before we share more of our concerns and goals, but hopefully we'll hear back from her. This was just yesterday, so. And also the city of Worcester asked us to share that they have this new energy advocate office hour. So if people are interested, you can go on their website, email them, call them, and schedule some information to chat more about how to do energy efficiency upgrades in the city of Worcester. And the Heritage Corridor has these Blackstone story walks. Kaylee, do you want to chat about this?
Sure, yeah. So BHC has installed these I think it's signage. I'm actually not sure, along the Blackstone River Greenway. And they worked with the Worcester Writers Collective to do this. They also had a reading late last month. So those should be up still. I read through a couple of them and they're really awesome. So feel free to go check that out if you're on the Greenway Bikeway anytime.
This sounds like something that Patty would be involved in.
It does.
So that's it for us, and I'm happy to hand it to you all if you have other updates to share. Peter.
Yes, Steph, I got an email sent from Therese Bodwin. She sends out newsletters, and the Healy administration announced, and I think this was just yesterday, that the 604B grant was awarded to the CMRPC, and it had our name and your name on it. And it's coming back to me that we committed to attending meetings, and there is going to be this awesome watershed management plan for $126,000. So tell me who's leading that charge at Central Mass. I thought it was you.
I didn't know we got the grant. I never heard back.
It was just announced yesterday.
I feel like
But the Central Mass Regional Planning, right? Because
yeah,
they had to
CMRPC
apply.
was technically the applicant, but it was with us and Horsley Witten, and yeah, BRC.
Well,
Nick, have you heard
congratulations.
that before?
No, I hadn't. I'm sorry that my video is black, but no, I
That's
hadn't heard
okay.
that. But I see Judy's camera's on, so maybe
Yeah.
Judy can tell us more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so this is the 604B Watershed Management Planning Grant, as Peter had said. Yeah, so we're really excited. We just announced the awards. I think the press release went out Wednesday. So yeah, but Central Mass Regional Planning Commission had applied in partnership with the Watershed Collaborative, the Blackstone River Coalition, and the Blackstone River Watershed Association to do all the work associated with developing kind of a high-level watershed plan for the Blackstone. So we're really excited to be funding that. So congratulations.
That's great. That's amazing. We're
That
A
is
live announcement, guys.
Yeah.
super hot off the press. Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know. We
yeah.
will follow up with CMRPC about that.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, while I've got the floor, maybe I just have a couple other announcements. The Bureau of Water, Bureau of Water Resources, sorry, will be having its annual Meet the Grants webinar on June 12th at 1 p.m. And so that covers all of the grants that are offered by the Bureau of Water Resources. So that's drinking water grants, wastewater grants, stormwater grants, the MS4 grant, and then the water quality grants that our program offers, the 604B and 319. I've got the registration link for that, and I can pop it in the chat if anyone's interested. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention was that the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EEA, has developed a new online grant portal for grants within, that program. So, just trying to kind of streamline the grant process. Previously, everyone sort of had their own process for grant applications, and we're just trying to kind of unify it and bring everyone to a central location. It's not mandatory, it's voluntary, so we're not entirely sure which grant programs will start to participate in this. The goal is that, eventually everyone will, so that anyone that wants to apply for one of our grants will just go to the same portal and then select whichever grant they're particularly interested in. And I've got a couple of links for that too. I've got a link to the portal. And then we also put together a YouTube video that's just sort of a how to use this new portal. So I will pop those into the chat as well.
Thanks. I see David, Heather, and then Patty.
Just a quick update on the MVP 2.0 status that the towns of the Mumford River involved in. We've gone through community engagement processes, and now we're in the process of picking a seed project. I've talked to Stephanie and Kaylee about some overlaps between what they're doing and what we might do, but just sort of stay tuned and we'll let you know.
Thanks, David. Heather?
Hi, we're Heather with the BRC, the Blackstone River Coalition. Our water quality program is going full steam ahead, and we had our second sampling session last week. So the first was in April in the snow, and then this was in the driving rain. But it went well, and we've also, thanks to the DEP grant, are able to add doing some bacteria sampling on Coal Mine Brook in Worcester. So we've done 2 sessions of that, and we're going to do another session on Monday with our partner organization, Excel Conservation Corps. So they're going to go out with us and do that for, they're going to sample once a month with us. So I'm looking forward to that. And we have purchased 2 data loggers to put in 2 tributaries on Manchog Pond to look at the temperature and conductivity on those streams. So, and those were also from the Mass DEP grants, which we're very thankful to have. So, yep, that's we're always looking for more volunteers if anyone wants to join the water quality monitoring program. And thanks for everybody on here that already does volunteer. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Heather.
Yep.
Patty?
Yes, going back to the Superfund site, I posted in the chat, the Watershed Council Friends of the Blackstone is hosting a meeting on Wednesday at 6:30 at their offices, and I put a link to the Facebook event page for that. And another update, I realized a year ago I wrote a poem about fish passage. So I'm going to type it up and share it with you and whoever want. But the other thing is just to give you a quick update on the turf field war in Burrillville. The town, I'll tell you, I can hardly wait to vote in Burrillville this year. Whenever I've been voting, but now I'm getting to know who the players are. So now I know who I'm not going to vote for next time. The town council and town manager decided to appeal the planning board's decision, which I don't know if they realize they're just holding back the whole project more so than anything else, but they're blaming the public. They're blaming, this one person. It's just, I don't know. It's horrendous what's happening with that. But anyway, that's just an update on that. So who knows what the Supreme Court is going to say. And of course,
town politics are pretty challenging.
Yeah, and I read somewhere where EPA is rolling back some of the PFAS issues with water quality as well, because of the current federal administration. So let's just have a drinking cheers to the drinking water, huh?
Yes, water quality protections at the federal level definitely may be changing, which is a challenge. But luckily, being in Mass and Rhode Island, we have pretty strong standards, so I'm hoping to keep those. Any other updates that folks want to share? All right. Well, it's 10:55, super short meeting. But thank you everybody for hopping on and hope you learned something new. I always learn something new from you guys. I appreciate it. And we'll follow up soon. And I will definitely follow up on that 604B grant.
Yeah. Thank you for the good news, Judy. We're very excited.
Oh, you're welcome. I love being able to share good news.
Take care, everybody.
And hope to see you all on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see you on Sunday. Make your own fish hat.
Yeah, love yours.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. See you Sunday.